Okay, hello everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday evening. We're here. Hi Mary Beth, how are you? Good to see you tonight. Um, I am doing much better. I'm a little bit out of it today. I could feel it, like that, that weird hazy feeling where you just kind of like want to get cozy under a blanket with some hot tea and do nothing. And just be satisfied, like feel very satisfied doing that. That's like where my system is right now, but trying to get myself back on the horse, being a little bit productive and getting back to working. That's been a heck of a couple weeks. Oh yes, thank you. I sounding better. Yeah, it's been rough. My voice has been in and out for the last week and a half. I still have a little bit of a cough hanging around, but it's better. It is definitely improved. The coughing at night, that's maybe one of the more annoying things that still hangs around. Right. Oof. I have my tea, but it's very, very, very hot. I literally just brewed it, so that needs a minute. Okay, so this piece I'm still screwing around with. It's kind of like a problem child painting. I'm not sure if it's going to come together or not, but I'm also not worried about it if it doesn't. It really doesn't matter. Like, I'm making things, I'm doing things, trying things, so that's fine. I might. I often have surprised myself in the past being able to pull something around, but not having that pressure of it must be this, that, or the other thing is a good place to be when you're creating. I think it definitely helps. Let's see, try to see how well we're positioned here. That'll do. And I am still, like, obviously my timeline for doing this, because I thought I'd do it by now, got really pushed back with having been ill, but I do still plan on kind of retooling my studio setup here to have better quality lighting, setup, even backgrounds, just how I have my camera mounted over my desk, all those things. So that will be something that I will still be playing with. But let's see. So where are we today? I'm kind of at a point on my figure here where I'm just thinking some details. Oh my god, my cat is going nuts over here, just playing, which is good. He's not yelling. That's a good thing. I'm just like, what's happening? Okay, he's occupied. That's a good thing. Yeah, add some details in here, do a little bit on the hair, and then try to see if I can pull all that together. I have some vague ideas. Well, we're just gonna see what happens. Okay. I got my palette. This is one thing I try to remember to do before I'm painting by a few minutes, is to like pre-moisten my palette, my watercolor palette, because I use the dry pans. Got my little pipette that I can squeeze water from my water glass into the palette and get these guys all softened up a little bit and ready to paint with. Okay, so that's where we are. Putting the palette on the other side of me today, that might throw me off a little bit, but I'm sure all will be well. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. We had a little bit of snow. We were supposed to get all this snow on Friday, but then it ended up being barely anything here. In Arlington Heights, we had maybe an inch and a half when they said it was going to be 4 to 6. My mom lives 40 miles northwest of me, and she had, I think, closer to 10 inches, though. So, I mean, depends where you are, of course. There goes the cat yelling. He's in the He's in the bathroom yowling. I think he likes the acoustics in there. Pretty sure that's what's happening with him. He's been in a state. I think that me being out of commission for a while, and obviously then I'm not really, up and actively playing with the cat every day. I think that he's got a lot of stored up energy and annoyance from having felt neglected for a few days there. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Oh my goodness. So much drama in that cat. So, just keep adding a little on here. I don't want to add a lot. I'm getting very heavy-handed, which is kind of the way I tend to work as it is. So we'll try to keep things from going completely off the edge. Let's see. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's a number 6 Kolinsky round brush. Escara Optimo, whatever that means. But yeah, I like this one a lot. Allows me to get a really fine point. You can see that for a number 6, I can still get really, really fine details, which is nice. So here we go. I would love to finish this and move on to something different, but we will see what happens. My cat again. What you doing, Watson? What you doing? I did finish the book that I mentioned a couple times before, Big Magic. I did actually finish that book, amazingly. I do have a lot of thoughts on it, but I'm thinking about kind of like collecting my thoughts and doing a bit of a kind of review of it. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, because I have a lot of thoughts that I would like to share. I think it's for a book that I started out being very like, I don't know if I want to go back and even finish this, very apprehensive about what it was getting into and its approach. I ended up finding quite a lot of value in it. Maybe not in what the author intended for the takeaways that I have, but yeah, some things that really got me thinking, and tie into things that matter to me. So I'm thinking about pulling that together. I guess a bit of a book report, perhaps. It's kind of funny to think about, but yeah, I guess it really is. It really would be. But other than finishing that book, I haven't really like watched movies or read much else or anything, just because I've just been in like a straight I need to recover mode where my system wasn't going to cooperate with me doing much of anything else. Alrighty. We have. Oh, I did see a movie that was actually not bad. It was, what was it called? The Infinity Chamber, which if you look, have to think about for a second, because I watched the film Infinity Pool just a little bit before that, so different movie, not the same movie. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun science fiction movie. It was a pretty good one. I think I would recommend it. Not terribly heavy. All right, let's do some. I do like to kind of mess around on these particular pieces with the way that I do the eyes. Like, I don't give a lot of depth or detail to like the irises and the pupils, and that's something that I do deliberately. So you don't see me going in and adding like all the depth to the sorry, my train of thought. You don't see me go in and add all the depth and layers to the irises and the darkness and the highlights and things like that necessarily. 'Cause that's just not what I'm trying to achieve there. But I think we can go in, start doing some like the really fine. I will add some. Let's see here. I think I'll go a little bit more saturated on my color here. More red. More saturated, and I'm going to start adding in some little like fine hair details, that sort of thing. Okay, let's see if we can do this without making a giant mess of things. It is myself I'm talking about here. There's Watson. Oh, he's behind my monitors, just like a cat should be. Right where he belongs. Okay. What are you doing back there? So somebody's saying hi to everybody. He has a lot to talk about lately. Okay, do some eyebrow hairs. I really like this brush for doing this sort of thing. Also, I'm not going for perfect brows because who does that anymore? I'm part of that 90s generation that plucked their brows to death, and hence they shall never be the same. Problem with fashion fads like that. Some of them, not much going back on. Like, oh well. Oh, I'm getting really heavy-handed. Really heavy-handed. I have I don't know if I've mentioned this before. A very slight tremor, which makes sometimes really detail work a little more clumsy than I would prefer it to be. All right. Okay, okay. Let's see. It is very messy. Well, it's fine. Still pushing through for the moment. See what we come up with. See what happens. Start going up into the hairline a bit. I'll admit, probably doing hair is maybe my least favorite part of doing portraits. Not something I enjoy a lot, but it's also it's not something that I've, put massive amount of time and effort into messing around with, which I certainly could do more of that. Well, how are we doing with that? Yeah. I'm feeling very meh about all of this. So the thing that really got me with getting sick this last week, is I've had, as a child, I had asthma. And I thought I'd basically outgrown it. But of course, turns out that's not entirely the fact. Last year, I started to notice, it was when I was a kid, it was exertion asthma. So when I would run, play, exercise, whatever, I would wheeze a lot and need to use an inhaler. And now it is, last year I started to notice that same kind of like tightness come back after I do something particularly exercise oriented, going up several flights of stairs. It wasn't just the normal, like, that you get out of breath from exerting yourself. It was a little more than that. So I did get back on having an emergency inhaler. But the other thing from when I was a kid is that when I would get sick, I would have an asthmatic reaction to getting sick. It had often been diagnosed as being chronic bronchitis, and sometimes it likely was. I likely did also have bronchitis, but there was plenty of times where it was more like just my body's response, inflammatory response. So yeah, being sick and then having asthma come in with that made the sick get worse because the inflammation in your bronchial tubes and such prevents you from being able to expel what you need to, and then that in turn makes the asthma worse, and it just becomes a snowball thing. So yeah, that hasn't happened to me since I was a kid, so that was kind of nuts. You just never know. I'm actually right now lifting a little bit of color, which is always a little bit of a risky, potentially very messy thing to do. It's interesting to be working through something where it's like I'm just really not feeling. All right. Well, anyway, leave that be for a little bit. Start doing some other stuff. See if we want to come back to her face. Mess around anymore. I gotta show you guys this glass I'm drinking out of. It is The Stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Stuff from the 80s. That is good stuff right there. But yeah, I love the ridiculousness of films like that. So when I found this at a craft fair, I had to have it. Okay. So then, I think I'm going to add in more. Something that's sitting weird with me about what I've done so far over here is a lot of where the white is reads to me like shredded paper. And that is, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why this piece is like being so strange for me in my mind, but I'm gonna add a little bit more, maybe balance it out as more deliberate decision making as I add it back in, as I add in some of the white, which will in all likelihood get covered up again. So just working with some heavy body gesso from Liquitex and a palette knife at the moment. Did get out a little bit this weekend, just a little bit. I was actually told last Tuesday that I was like, you can go back to work, you're not contagious. However, I couldn't breathe and couldn't stop coughing. details. But I'm just saying that so you don't think I'm not like trying to infect people with my horribleness. Also wearing a mask most places. But I went to the Habitat for Humanity Restore, has a huge store really close to me. And it's great. And I was there just wandering. I'm like, oh yeah, I should be looking for things that I can use for fixing my studio the way that I want it. Because, you forget I forget what I'm doing, and I have no focus and organization. Yeah, I found a couple shelf units, like little small things, shelf things, like an enclosed thing with shelves. I don't know. Oh, okay. I hope you know what I'm talking about makes sense to somebody. Yeah, so I found a couple of those. And I got a dirt cheap rug that I'm gonna put underneath my work area, wherever I'm painting, to protect what dignity is left of the carpeting in here. And what else? Oh, power bar, a new power bar, brand new in box. What I currently have in here, I was thinking recently, is maybe just okay. You see, this is my brain. It's a power bar and not a surge protector. There we go. Words are hard. Yes. So I'm like, I should have a proper surge protector. And I have a whole lot of things plugged into just a few outlets because where I live doesn't have tons of outlets. Just forget this egg thing. Yeah, so I got one of those, a nice one. It's got even more outlets than what I have now. It's a proper surge protector. And is there any and? Yeah, it's just a good thing because I worry about how much I have plugged in here because I have, of course, my computer, which has a second monitor. I have a printer and scanner as part of that. And then when I'm streaming, I have a lot of USB things like the webcam and such, but there's the camera that's shooting this. There's the lights. So I figure it's a bit of a safety issue, as well as, like, you know, protecting my computers just from literally surges. All right. Barely know what's happening here, but I think that's actually an improvement. Perhaps the beginning of an improvement. I pretty much mentioned in the last stream that my use of the transfer print wasn't terribly successful. So I'm kind of covering that up. I think that's better. I also saw an amazing chair at the restore. It was purple and comfy, and I'm thinking about it because I could really use a nice, comfortable place to sit and read or whatever. Just a comfy chair. That would be nice. Okay, so we got down some more gesso. I do feel like that helps. That helps. You know what? I didn't go back. I didn't do the eyelashes here when I was going along doing. I tell you what. If the head were not attached, I would have lost it long, long, long ago. That goes without saying. Okay. As I stick my hand in the wet gesso, naturally, if you don't have paint all over you when you finish in the studio, did you really even paint? Did anything happen? Did you get anything done? Probably not. Might as well embrace it. Okay. That helps also. All right. All right, all right. Right, that's good. I actually feel like that's some positive progress. How about that? All right, what next? What next? What next? A little sip of tea. Green tea with honey. Still, I'm not a tea drinker at all. I am a coffee girl through and through, but I have been consuming large quantities of tea. And I think that I have in the past been very guilty of like over brewing, steeping for too long. I think that that definitely makes it not good. So, yeah, if you find tea unpleasant, try not steeping it for ever and ever. That might help. And this brush, I'm noticing it's coming a little loose. I need to figure out the best way to fix that. It's a Blick studio brush, so it's not like it's the most expensive brush in the world, but I'd still like to, keep these going as long as possible, not have to spend money where it is unnecessary. Try to take care of the things. I do try to be a responsible brush caretaker for whatever that's worth. I do try. With varying levels of success. Okay, let me think. There is one other thing that I had thought about doing as like a very broad element, painting in here. I'm trying to decide if I still want to do that. Because I'm not, I think that I don't care about the gesso still being wet if I decide to do that still. Let me think. This needs more pure. A little bit. Not a lot, but something. Yeah, you know what? Let's go crazy. Where is my tiny palette? Somewhere here. Aha! My tiny palette. Okay. What color will I use for this? There's still a lot of pinks and reds happening, a decent amount of blues. How about some purple? How about, here we go. Go with some brilliant purple. Okay, cat hairs. Let's address the cat hairs first. Okay, I'll probably need more, but I can always add more paint. Let's see, what brush do I want? Something to I got a number 1 flat. At least that's what it says. And according to the price tag, it came from Sri Lanka. Who knows? All right. Let me just visualize for a second. This paint is quite heavy-bodied. I'm gonna thin it a tiny bit. I would like to have a little bit of flow in there. This is acrylic. want it to be so thin that it's going to be translucent, but just thin enough to flow a little. Okay, okay. So I'm going to start with a line. Using about the width of my brush to do this. Plus some, apparently. It's a bit of a lesson today. Don't be afraid to cover over what you've done when things aren't working right. Okay. All right, now we're getting a little heavy there. Okay. I'm gonna add a second line parallel to this one. And that's going to go. Okay, we'll do over here. So this is going to be a little bit of a callback to another piece, an element in another piece that I had done last year. And this is part of, well, basically part of the same series of work, so it works fine to do that. A lot of artists use iconography or visual language in repetition in their work. To create meaning or just a pattern of things relating to each other even. Kind of like just the way we exist in general. If there weren't things that were patterns in ourselves, in the way we behave, our interests, what we like, what we do, well, people wouldn't recognize us as us. Okay, now this will get a little bit of a pattern inside of it. So think on that for a second. Need a little room for my brush. I'll maybe clean up some spots that are a little rough, just 'cause. Okay, so let me use the waning brain power and think of what I'm doing here. Stick with this brush? Yeah, why not? Okay. Am I going to regret this? I don't know. But we're going with it. So this is a reference back to a piece that I did that I titled Shame last year, a larger painting. And I had, well, not just shame. I guess I also did this with What Is Mine, which was an even larger painting from, was it last year? Did I finish that the year before? Time just runs together. Yeah, snakes. Snakes being the idea. Snakes are very loaded in terms of visual meaning, of course. Religious and otherwise. As with every other element of here, I'm not worried about this being perfect. For better or worse. I'm trying to also manage the lack of evenness that I'm even capable of achieving with any reasonable amount of consistency. All right, I don't know if this will. I don't know how far this is going to take things and me being satisfied with any of the design of this section. There's a high likelihood that I'm going to want to bury a little bit of this also. It is a place to start. I say that this is my fifth session, I think, working on this. Something like that. Oh, I am not a award show kind of person, but we did happen to have what's the award show that was yesterday on? The Academy Awards, I guess. Yes. Like my partner's family, he grew up in a family that watched these shows, and I did not, but he enjoys watching them, so we had that on. And I still have yet to see Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like that movie has been on my I want to see this list ever since the previews came out for it ages ago. But I'm the kind of person, like, I don't go to the movie theater generally. So like waiting for it to be available for, either cheap or free on streaming. I just haven't been able to catch it yet, but I really, really want to. I'm getting some kind of flow going with this, even though yeah, still feeling like it's a mess, but we're going with it. We're trust the process, because even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. Okay. I'm getting there. Oh, also, I don't know if anybody else around here is a Star Trek fan, but I'm totally a Star Trek dork. And I've hated so much of the new Star Trek that's come out lately, and there's been a lot of it because money. But I was not going to. I've actually watched some of the third season of Picard, and I have to say, I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously. It's still early. There's 4 episodes in. Things could still really just devolve in a hurry. Okay. So we've done that. For whatever that's worth. Let's see. Get my brush nice and clean here. Trying to be a good brush mother. Keep my old master's soap out on the counter in the bathroom, so I always have that nearby. And yeah, just always try. Okay. I think I need more of this, because it is a little bit too much. Okay. For now, that's fine. Let all that dry. And move on. Actually broke out some pencils. Oh. My trusty clip to hold down corners of my paper, because this is an watercolor black, and the more levels of moisture and heavy stuff you put on here, the more it starts to peel up. So I just had this in the corner. You just have to be careful not to send it flying at you in the face when you least expect it, because that happens. Okay, so maybe if I can do it without, again, sticking my hand in any of the wet paint. Do a little work on here. Not much, but little. Soften up the line in the back where the hair was, where the hair is. I'm going to build up some of my warm shades back in a little. To be creative in layering colors if it gets too out of hand, and just the little couple lines didn't do it the trick. All right, let's see. Let me see. And just a few extra light layers here and there. What else do we want to do as long as we're going for it? As I stick my hand in the wet paint, because you knew I was gonna. Alright. Just adding up a little bit of texture on the horns. I don't use colored pencils very much. Kind of just, if I'm using them, it's like this. It's just a little bit of tiny bit of highlight somewhere or another, or screwing around with stuff. Cool shade on the shadowy bit. Ooh, I'm gonna need to start to sharpen these pretty soon. That means I need to go find my pencil. I have a pretty decent electric pencil sharpener that I recently had to unplug because I didn't have enough outlets. So I gotta figure out where it is and plug it back in. That new power bar I was just talking about having gotten should help with that, hopefully. right. I think I like that. That's working. I don't think white will do much of anything, depending on how dark I'm drawing over. Let's see. And just a couple tiny little bits of highlight maybe. I'm hearing the strangest sounds coming from other units around me right now. It really is quite bizarre. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but we're just gonna ignore that. Hopefully nobody's getting murdered anywhere. And why would I say that? I don't know why I'd say that. It just sounds very creepy is all. Being so close to other neighbors is definitely a mixed bag. I'm sure anybody who's ever has or does live in either a condo or an apartment can likely attest to that. Excuse me. All right. All right. The hair still is not quite there. But other things are kind of improving. I think maybe I'll do another shadow wash on just kind of letting the brush create some shapes maybe. Okay. Ah, that feeling when it starts to get loose really make you nuts. Every time you like shake it out the water in the brush. Like, oh, just hold on. Just stay with me for a while, brush. I need you. Okay. A couple highlights in the eyebrows maybe. And oh, the hair over here. I need some strands of hair over there. Right, that's the light. And then something with a little bit of a darker, it's kind of a blue-green that I got going on a little bit. So let that happen. happening. All right. Definitely made some progress today, I'd say. It's not there. Not 100% there yet. We've definitely made some progress. And I'm feeling pretty solidly about where she is, remarkably. And I think, well, here I'm going to mess around a little bit more, but pretty much at a place that I think I'll probably end up. Okay. Does that do it? Does that do it? I don't really enjoy doing hair, but I actually really like ears. Ears are so fascinating. Okay. And is this where we want to leave it? A few more flyaways. I never really addressed much to do with this little corner here, this which would be like the other horn. Just add a little bit of a wash maybe to suggest some depth on there. Not gonna be very worried about that one either. Quite frankly, if this were to get framed, you'd probably pretty well lose that corner. I think I'm done with the pencils. And this still needs more, a little bit, at least a little bit. I don't know if it like necessarily would warrant a whole nother dedicated stream to finish what's happening over here, but look at it. Integrate this a little bit more. I actually might add one or two small elements of collage yet again, but nothing major. Maybe just some things that create some element of small pattern. And I don't know, maybe a little bit of line drawing. That's a possibility too. But I finally feel like this is coming into its own. Really didn't think that I was going to be able to save this one. I thought that this was going to be pretty much a lost cause piece, but I think that we just might be having it come together. Probably. Every time I pick up a little bit of color, it's like, I know the risk I'm taking. And that's one reason why you don't want to work with real cheap watercolor paint if you're doing anything, or not paint, but paper. If you're doing anything even remotely in the way that I approach painting with watercolor, the cheaper paper, thinner paper is not going to do it. It was not going to hold up. It will just start to fray, and like it's going to reach its maximum abuse level pretty quickly. So that is something to be aware of if anybody works as insanely as I do. But that's definitely something that I've learned. One of the things that I've learned that is important to invest in terms of doing art. Some things, yeah, you can you don't need to spend a lot of money on, but there are a few things that definitely make a difference for working with. And I think you can probably say the same thing for about any interest, anything you're doing, any hobby. Cooking, for sure. A really nice pan can actually legitimately make a difference in how well something will cook or clean up. Music, your instruments, your recording equipment can potentially make a difference depending on what you're trying to achieve. So, but it's always walking that line of also don't let not having the thing stop you from doing things, because not having the thing can present interesting challenges that you can end up coming up with very creative ways to work around. Like, it might not make your life easier at all, but it will make you more creative. And that's always a good thing. Pardon me, still a little bit of a cough. Problem solving. That's a legitimate issue. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave this guy here for tonight. I don't, Thursday morning stream, I might come back and finish this, or I might just start something completely different. So we'll see what I'm able to figure out and come up with before that time. And I probably won't get the studio redo done before then, because it's going to be a real project. I'm going to have to get like almost everything out of here, all the stuff off of shelves, to reorient things and set it up completely differently. That's going to be a serious project, and I still have a few, I still need to get the lighting that I'll use for that. So right now, it's such a hodgepodge of stuff that I'm using for lighting. I have a clamp light here. I have a desk lamp here. A light that's over here is a floor lamp that only half works. Only one part of it works. I have other lights like these things floating around. This one's not plugged in at the moment because I moved a bunch of cords. So it's all just very much a hodgepodge. There's no ceiling light, there's no floodlight in this room. It's all just got to be standalone lamps. So that makes things a little bit of a challenge for just having a well-lit room, period. But especially for, doing work where you need to be able to see what you're doing, light it well. proper representation of your colors, and of course, filming things so that you guys can see actually what I'm doing and not have it be all yellowed out or anything weird like that, or too dark. And if you've watched several of my streams, I'm sure you've seen some be more successful than others, and it would just be nice to have things in a way where that wasn't necessarily the case, where it could be pretty consistent. And hopefully I will have my energy back to pretty much regular by Thursday. And yeah, I'm sure I'll have some random things to rant about and talk about, and yeah. I'm always welcome to any questions or topics or anything anybody wants to chow on in the chat here. I have a screen by me. I have my tablet here so that I can keep an eye on the chat, and the stream, make sure that, I don't accidentally knock off a camera or, have some problem like that, and also to be able to see any chat that may be happening. So yeah, well, I hope I will see everybody on Thursday morning. Yeah, take care. Have a great week, everybody. It's Mondays. We made it through Monday. We're halfway there. Not really, but you know what I mean. Anyway, good night.